Hey everybody, Hunter back again from Showtime Studios, doing something a little bit different today. We're out here in my personal garage with the one-to-one project. A lot of you guys on my subscriber list have been, wanting to see the car and wanting to know what I've been doing. That's not on Facebook. A lot of guys that's on my subscriber list that's also on Facebook have seen, several pictures of this car come up. But this is the very first video that I've done on this car. So I got my cup sitting over here. I'm not going to tell anybody what's in this, but I need a drink as we go along on this one. Yeah, so this is going to be a little bit longer video. Kind of want to explain what we've been doing on the car and some facts about the car and the direction that we want to go. So any of you guys that's interested in what I've been up to, hang around and check out the whole video. For you guys that are not interested in what I've been doing in the garage, you can turn the video off now because this is not modeling related. And we are looking forward to getting back in the hobby room and getting something done on a model because, these one-to-one cars, they have to work. Models, they get to sit on the table and look pretty. So I'm kind of ready to go back in the hobby room and sit down and enjoy building a model. But that's a little bit of ways off yet. We wanted to have this car done by September of this year. That's not going to happen. It's just too tight of a schedule. Doing what we're doing to this car in a year was just too much. So we're shooting for the spring of next year, 2020, to have this car maybe not all the way done, but at least out on the street and being tested. So give you kind of a rundown on the car, on what the car is and what we started with. This is a 1984 Olds Cutlass Supreme. I bought this car. I'm the second owner of it. I bought this car from a lady that ordered it directly from the factory. I have all the factory paperwork on this car, the factory owner's manual, all of her oil change and service receipts and all that stuff. Got a lot of stuff with the car. I even had the original paperwork where she paid the amount that she paid for the car from the factory, and so it was pretty cool. I got a little bit of a bonus there. This car was the thistle blue color. It had the quarter white vinyl top on it, and it was definitely Grandma's car. It did not have the power windows and the power locks. It did have power steering, tilt, cruise, AC, power brakes. It was bucket seat automatic on the floor. So it was kind of a weird car the way it was laid out, the way she ordered it. But it works great for a platform for a pro street car. And like I say, this car was in very good shape. We backed this car in the position that it's sitting in right now. We backed this car in here back in September of last year as a complete bone stock running car with the old 307 Olds motor in it, and complete, everything working, running, backed it in on its own power, and we put it up on jack stands and disassembled the entire car. This car has been taken all the way down to the frame, and the entire body's pretty much been stripped out. Not every little thing out of it, but the majority of stuff was stripped and is being either refurbished or replaced or fabbed up and added to the car. So just to kind of give you a rundown, once we got everything stripped down on the car, that's when all the work started. We want to make this car a driver. This is not a race car. This is a driver. We want to be able to go out, and I live about 2.5 miles from town. So we want to be able to come out here in the garage, fire the car up, drive it to a cruise in, whatever we want to do. We don't want to put it on the trailer all the time. So that's one of the reasons of just going out and being able to enjoy a pro street car. Some of my other cars that I had, they're temperamental. They're more of a race car than they are a street car, and they're a headache to deal with for me. And I'm getting older now, so I kind of want a little bit more comfort, and that's what we're putting into this car. So we got everything stripped out on this car. Started with the back half of it. It's a 2x3 square tube back half. Frame rail section. It is a ladder bar car. It has S&W ladder bars on it. I custom fabricated the panhard bar and all of these shock mounts, and all the welding and everything on this car has been done by me. And if you hear me mention we, that means Sandy and myself, because we're the only two that's touched this car since it came into the garage. Now, the two things I did not do on this car is I did not build the transmission. I pulled the transmission out of the storage building, and it was a refurbished Turbo 350, and that was built by a local shop here. Actually, the guy that used to own that shop is now in Florida, and it was built many years ago as a backup transmission, and we pulled it out, and that's what's in this car right now. And the other thing that I did not do in this car is the actual rear end narrowing and setting up the gears. But it is a narrowed 10 bolt, believe it or not. Because this is a cruise car and it's not going to be leaving at 5,000 and 6,000 RPM, it's just going to be cruising around on the street and sitting on, you know, car show lots and stuff like that. I went with a 1979 Trans Am 10 bolt rear end. And that was something that I had around for a while. It was actually in one of my S10s years ago. So inside of that 10 bolt is a Auburn center section, the clutch style limited slip, no spool, none of that crap. We're done with those. Those days are over for me. What else do we have? We have Timken bearings in that thing. We have Richmond 456 gears in it. It has the street gears in it, and Moser axles. It does have drum brakes on the rear of it. It has the GM drum brakes with the aluminum drums. I found a set of aluminum drums years back. Actually, I found 3 sets of them, and one of those sets is on this car here, so that lowers the unsprung weight a little bit. And as far as tires back there, we have 31, 18, 15 Mickey Thompson. Their new Street SR, the one with the flame tread pattern on them. And normally I used to run the 33, 21 and a half. That's the only thing that I would put on my Pro Street cars. This car in the rear is setting at factory ride height. And that's what we wanted to keep on this car. This car is not laying on the ground. It won't be laying on the ground. I'm done with all that. Like I say, I want to be able to drive it, and our town is not the smoothest and flattest area, so I've learned over the years to raise the cars up a little bit, keep them at that factory ride height where they work. It does have a 2-inch drop spindle on the front of it to lower the front end down a little bit. Let's see, what else do we have back there in the back while we're talking about that section? I ordered a tub kit in for it. It's got steel tubs. They are all tucked in within the factory structure in the back of the car. It worked out very well. And as time goes along, I'll get a picture or a video of all that stuff back there for you guys. It has a 16-gallon aluminum fuel cell in it. And I'm trying to get a little hoarse here, so I'm going to take me another little drink. And we put the 16-gallon cell in it because I wanted a little bit of extra fuel since it is a street car. We were going to go mechanical fuel pump on this, but we ended up going with the electric fuel pump. I've changed. It made my plumbing a whole lot, you know, cleaner up here toward the engine. No trunk mount battery or anything like that. The battery is going to be in the factory location underneath the hood on this right side fender well over here, right behind the core support. So as far as the trunk, that's about it. We did have to modify the trunk hinges a little bit to clear the tubs. But all that back there is a factory setup. After that, factory trunk lid, factory tail panel, tail lights, all that stuff. So moving forward on the car, we have connectors coming from the 2x3 drop cross member coming forward, and they basically go into the seat brace that goes across these cars on the floor pan. It's tied into that area and also tied over to the frame rails themselves. And what else do we have? 6-point bar in the car. It actually ends up being, when everything's all said and done, we'll have 2, 4, 6, 8. It'll basically be a 10-point bar in the car to support the back half, since it is a very thin, it's basically race car tubing in the back, the 083 thickness 2x3 rails. We didn't put the 120 wall in, which is the heavier. I'll kind of now wish I had done it that way, and that way I wouldn't have had to put a cage in the car, because as you get older, and if you don't like swing out bars, you got to climb over top of them. So yes, I got to climb over top of them, but we are putting them in the car where they're kind of user friendly as much as they can be. The plan for the interior of the car is to go back with all factory components in the car. The dash, the door panels, the headliner I have recovered factory. The factory dome lamp, the factory package tray cover. The back seat will be back in the car, the original back seat. It will be modified. It would not be easy to get into, but if somebody could squeeze back there, you could sit in the seat and be not so comfortable. But it kind of takes up that space. You don't see the tubs. You don't see all that stuff back there and make it look like a race car. And then up front, I have replacement seats. I got aftermarket seats for the front. The factory console has all been redone. I refurbished it. It has carbon fiber accent on it where it used to be wood grain. Some changes were done on that. The power window switches were added into the console. The power locks were added into the console. And I have all that stuff over here under the bench. That all goes into this car when we get to that point. We're going to put Dynamat on everything in this car. The roof, the floor pan, the inside of the doors, the sail panels, all that stuff's all going to be Dynamat to keep the noise down and keep it pretty quiet. And it has a Hurst Promatic 2 shifter in it. Nothing special. It's I do have a GT or a Grant Signature Series steering wheel that's going in at 14.5 inch factory size. And it is the tilt column. That'll stay in it. So as far as that kind of stuff, that's all going to stay factory. So when you look in the car, it'll all be factory appearing in there with a few add-ons. And it will have a 3-gauge A-pillar gauge pod over on the driver's side. And then all the gauges in the dash are in the factory dash, but they're all aftermarket. And then we have a couple rocker switches that are in there. And all that stuff's been changed over to carbon fiber also. And that'll be something else we'll get a video on to show you guys what that looks like. So as we move forward on the car, we stripped all the frame. The frame's all been done, stripped down, primed, and done with acrylic enamel with hardener in it, along with the firewall. And for you guys that are noticing, there's a big hole in the firewall. That's where the factory AC and heater box went. I am changing that around a little bit. This car will not have AC on it, but it has to have a heater. So we have the defroster because, like I say, it is a driver. So we're changing that around a little bit. We're going to redo this. We're not putting the factory pieces back in here. This has all got to be fabricated. And actually, I've got that over here on the bench. I've been working on that a little bit here and there. All the front suspension's been replaced. Control arms, spindles, rotors, brakes, bearings, seals, everything. Center link, tie rod ends, sleeves, pitman arm, idler arm. Everything across the front's all brand new. So pretty much the entire chassis from front to rear is all brand new components. And of course you can see the Convo Pro wheels here. I don't know if I mentioned those. I got 15x14s on the rear, and I got the 15x4s on the front. And these wheels are 20 couple years old. They've been with me a long time. They've been on several vehicles that I've had over the years. And I've always, if I sell those vehicles, I always go and put, a set of welds on it or a set of, regular center lines or something like that. And I keep my Convo Pros. So they've been a good old wheel. They're perfectly straight. They don't take a lot of weight. And I love them. I've been a big fan of them since I've seen them back in the mid 80s, I think it was, late 80s, something like that. So now we'll move on to the heart of this beast. Nothing special. This is a little 355 small block. It's about a 9-to-1 compression motor. It has a, decent crank in it, decent rods in it. The dish piston in it. It has BPE aluminum heads on it. 202-16 valves. It's a full roller motor. Has a small roller cam in it. Nothing crazy, roller rockers, the true roller timing chain, double roller. And aluminum water pump on it. I had to go to the short water pump because of the blower. We have the polished aluminum ball milled valve covers on it. I had to fabricate all the alternator mounts and the power steering mounts for this car because there was not too much out there that I could find that would work with this particular setup without adding another groove on the crank pulley, which I did not want to do, because that's a pretty good ways out front now, and I wanted to keep the load off the front of this crank as much as I could. And let's see, moving on up from there, what else do we have in there? Yeah, I told you about the heads. 671 supercharger, of course. It's polished, but the intake is satin. We have the MSD distributor in it. It'll be an MSD 6AL, the BTM, the Boost Timing Master MSD box. On top of the blower, we have two 600 Edelbrock Endura Finish carburetors, and they're going to be used for now to get this car out on the road, get it tested, and get the bugs worked out of it. And then probably next winter, we're going to switch over to twin throttle bodies on this, and we'll also switch over to a 4L60 or a 4L80E overdrive transmission because this is a turbo 350. I think I mentioned that, with a 1800 stall in it. Nothing special. It does have good parts in it. It's got an polished aluminum finned pan on it. It will have a Durali transmission cooler with a fan. So we'll keep that all in check. Everything will be good there. And what else do we have? We have the Hillborn scoop, of course, up on top. This was a choice of Sandy. She loved this scoop, and she also wanted the eyeball decals for it. So I ordered that in. That's her deal. That's what she wanted as far as the scoop. We had many different choices, and that's the one she picked out. So it's on the car. And I've got the plug wires and all that stuff set up on the car, run where I want them to be. I've got actually fabbed up the floating spark plug wire separator brackets. These are center bolt valve covers because this is a later model roller block and with the roller heads on it. And normally the separators come off of these two bolts here on the valve cover, and they got a bracket that comes down here. I didn't like that. It was hideous. I just didn't like it. I liked the separator, so what I did is I actually drilled and tapped the valve covers themselves, and the mounting points are tucked up underneath of here, so this thing looks like it's floating on the valve covers. And we've got that all with a nylock on the inside of the valve cover. It doesn't get close to the valve springs or any of that stuff, so that all worked out real good. We got the aluminum pulleys on the front, polished, except for power steering. That is a factory style pulley on the power steering. And of course I got the bolt caps and things like that that's going on. We're working on getting the fuel lines and stuff set up. And yeah, that's about it. We've got the core support right outside here in the other garage. That's all getting refurbished and ready to go back on the car. We've got a big Be Cool radiator that goes in this car that's already been fitted, and hopefully we'll keep this thing cool. We've got 160-degree thermostat in it now. With the big radiator, we should be good. Wintertime comes and I want to take it out, we'll probably put a 180-degree thermostat in it, or maybe even a 195. I don't know. It depends on how this thing runs and, as far as temperature and stuff like that. We do have the hooker headers on this car. That's something I didn't mention, and they are wrapped with the DEI titanium wrap that's painted black. And I'm not a big fan of the look of it, but I'm trying to keep the heat out from underneath the hood of this car because it's only going to have the hole cut in it for the blower. That's it. Not running around hoodless like I used to do back in the late 80s and early 90s. We put the factory motor mounts in this car. This is not a motor plate design in here. That gives you a nice ride, and the motor's not shaking the chassis around and carrying on like a race car. So we did, there's a lot of factory components in this car. All the front suspension on this car is factory replacement components. It even has the factory height springs in it. The cargo coils is what they call it. For an AC car, that's what's in here, but we did put a 2-inch drop spindle on it. So it kind of gives the car a little bit of a rake, makes it look decent. So yeah, that's where we're at. Of course, it's got the power brake, the master cylinder over there, and the brake booster. All that's pretty much factory replaced components, all new brake lines, all that stuff. So, as I say, as we go along with the car and get a little bit more done on it, we'll do some more videos, keep you guys up to date on what's happening. And yeah, that's about all we got for now. I'm going to take me another drink here real quick before we finish up this video. Oh, yeah, we'll set that over there to the side. So there you go, guys. Everybody that's been wondering what I've been doing out here in the garage, this is it. And this is my second passion, my second hobby. And but we are looking forward to getting back in there and messing with some models. That'll probably be next year sometime that we really jump back on that. But we will be back at doing Showtime Studios thing as far as the models. So I want to thank everybody that's subscribed to my channel here lately. Even though I haven't been putting up much content, I'm still getting a fair amount of subscribers. So I want to thank all you guys. And like I say, you know, for you guys that wasn't, you know, interested in a one-to-one video, I apologize, which I probably shouldn't have to apologize because it's my channel. But I apologize that I'm putting something on here that's not modeling related. But this video is for the guys that follow my channel and want to know what I'm doing on the one-to-one car that do not follow me on Facebook. So there you go. That's about it. That's all we're going to do for now. So like always, this is Hunter from Showtime Studios. I want to thank everybody again, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.